Hi, and welcome to the Supply Chain channel. Today, we're going to discuss the news. Today is March the 18th. So, I would like to, there are some more news in the logistics space, and I would like to review these news with you, to break down these news. So, first is the delivery of the vaccines. It seems that volumes and the speed of the deliveries are picking up everywhere. Carriers are having to deal with a higher volume of vaccines. Some of them that have strict, cold chain requirements. Um Overall, what we see is that logistics operators, carriers, package providers have coped well with the production and the delivery of the vaccines. That's really good news. I'm really hopeful that you know everywhere in the world will have vaccines delivered in good quantities until the end of the year. It looks like the U.S. Will be able to receive or to distribute all the doses that they need up to May. So the additional doses that they purchased that they are not going to use, probably they are going to donate that to lower income nations. Europe has been kind of slow in the distribution of the vaccines, the manufacturing and distribution of the vaccines, but I think they will have most of their vaccines delivered, in the first semester of this year. Then we have the rest of the world where the delivery of enough doses of vaccines will last until the end of the year for the rich countries, and probably even 2022 for the lower income nations. But the manufacturing and the delivery pace is good, and it's picking up speed. So that's already very good news for everyone. It seems that more drug manufacturers are being involved into making the vaccines. It seems that Merck now will start manufacturing vaccines also. So this is all good news for everybody. We start to see some light at the end of the tunnel as the pandemics goes. The other important news is about the Department of Transportation in the United States. They are involved in the Build Back Better plan. The $1.9 trillion recovery plan has been approved there by Congress and by the Senate. So we'll start to see a lot of infrastructure work going on in the U.S., especially regarding rail, bridges, and so forth. This is good news for companies located in U.S. Also, good news for those that source construction materials like steel, cement, and other things, because China is already on a building spree. Now, if the U.S. Starts to rebuild its infrastructure, which in some cases really lagging behind, some of the infrastructure there is really old and not well maintained. They need this renewal of their infrastructure, and it seems that as part of the recovery plan. It's an important part of the recovery plan because it will generate a lot of jobs and it will boost the economy for a couple of years. I think it's good for companies located there and even for global companies that supply these raw materials for infrastructure construction, something that we'll have to look out. The other piece of info is also regarding the US Department of Transportation. They are involved, actually, President Biden required them to start an investigation into the US supply chains, the most important US supply chains, and what are the risks in these supply chains. Basically, because of the failure during the pandemic to produce enough PPI for frontline workers in the first months of the pandemic, like gloves, gowns, masks, these kind of things. And now the problem with the semiconductors, it is required that the US Department of Transportation start an investigation, and they will make some suggestions regarding the supply chains, at least for these essential goods in the US going forward. I think that's really important, not only for the US. If I lived in Europe, I would think seriously about doing that in Europe as well. I think here, I live in Brazil. I think Brazil, Argentina should take a look at this issue also, because most countries have offshored and outsourced production of some of goods that are very important, like the vaccines. So now they are produced mainly in Southeast Asia, China, India, Taiwan, Korea, and so forth. And when the pandemics hit, many countries found out that it's not really reliable to have a supply chain that extends to the other side of the globe. It's efficient, in normal times. It's very efficient. It's cost efficient. That's why most countries and most companies do that. But for vaccine production, for example, in my country, we used to produce those vaccines in the country. We had a few labs here that could produce enough vaccines for our population. And in time, governments passed by, and they found it was less costly to offshore and outsource production to labs in China. And now we need to produce vaccines for the COVID, and we can bottle them. We can do the final steps of production here, but we do not possess the labs and the equipment to do the first stages of production. So we cannot produce, I would say, the raw material, but it's not the raw material. It's the first step for producing the vaccine that cannot be done here. So it's a shame, and it has happened everywhere. I think for capitalism to work, you have to have a lot of competitors, and these competitors have to be everywhere. So it's important to have companies producing, for example, N95 masks in China, in Europe, in US, in South America, in South Africa. So it's important to have manufacturers, several manufacturers located in several different countries. So if one of them is hit with a tsunami, a pandemic, or an earthquake, or whatever, supply chains everywhere are not disrupted and people's lives are not threatened. So right now, what governments are finding out is that really lean, really cost efficient supply chains uh, are good for the companies on short term, but longer term they put societies and people's lives in danger. So what I think is I'm not against globalization. Please understand me correctly, but I've been preaching here in the channel for quite some time now that you need to have more resilient supply chains. You have to have at least two suppliers, two trusted suppliers for every material that you need, and for governments that should not be different. I think moving forward, governments everywhere are going to require from their companies, from their main suppliers of vaccines, medicines, and other stuff, that they have more resilient supply chains, that they have more local production, even though it may cost a little bit more. But it's important to have this degree of resiliency in the supply chains of these really essential goods. So that was the main topics I wanted to discuss with you guys about the logistics news of March 2021. I hope you like the topics that we discussed here. If you have more topics that you want us to discuss, please leave your comments below, leave your suggestions, hit like if you like the video, and subscribe to our channel if you like to see more videos like this. Okay, thank you very much. Bye.